The hallway smelled of bleach and something faintly floral like wilted roses trying to hide the scent of time. Evelyn Hart sat by the window of her small room, watching the snow fall in slow, uneven flakes. Outside, the world looked clean. Inside, it looked like the kind of place where stories came to end quietly. The nurse had just brought her tea when she placed an envelope on Evelyn's tray. "There's a letter for you," the nurse said, smiling softly. "It was dropped off this morning. A man said he was your son." Evelyn froze. Her trembling fingers hovered above the envelope. The handwriting, sharp, neat, restrained, was Daniel's. She hadn't seen that handwriting in over 10 years. For a long moment, she didn't move. The tea cooled. The nurse left. The only sound left in the room was the radiator clicking like a nervous heartbeat. She lifted the envelope to her nose. It smelled like the outside world, cold, metallic, like distance. Evelyn's son, Daniel Hart, had once been the kind of boy who never stopped talking, always curious, always asking, always running down the hallway calling, "Mom, look." But after his father's death, something in him had turned inward, like a door closing. She could still see that day clearly, the funeral, the dark suit hanging loose on his 12-year-old shoulders, the way he looked at her accusing, broken. "You let him die," he'd whispered, voice shaking. "You didn't make him go to the hospital." Evelyn had tried to speak, to explain that she didn't know how sick his father was, that she thought it was just the flu, but Daniel had already turned away. From that day, every word between them felt like walking on cracked glass. As years passed, the distance grew. He left for college and never came back for Christmas. Calls turned into emails, emails turned into nothing. And now, after all that silence, an envelope sat in her lap like a ghost of something unfinished. Evelyn unfolded it slowly. The paper was thick, expensive, with the faint imprint of his careful handwriting. "Mom, I thought I'd visit today. I drove here. I even stood in the parking lot, but I couldn't walk in. I guess I'm still not ready. There's too much I haven't said, too much you haven't either. I don't know if forgiveness works after so long. Maybe next time. Daniel." She stared at the words until the ink blurred. He'd come here. He'd been this close. And yet he hadn't come inside. The snow outside thickened, covering the world in silence. She pressed the letter to her chest. The paper was cold, but she held it as if it could still be warm. That night, the halls were quiet except for the soft squeak of the nurse's shoes. Down the corridor, Daniel stood by the visitor check-in desk, staring at the sign that said visiting hours, 9 a.m., 8 p.m. He was late, as always. He had driven 3 hours. Parked, sat in the car, told himself he'd go in, then told himself he wouldn't. Now he was here just down the hall. He looked toward room 214. The door was half open. A sliver of yellow light spilled out. He took one step forward, then stopped. His chest ached with the weight of old words. "You let him die." He didn't know how to take them back. He didn't know how to begin. And so he turned, walked away, and disappeared into the snowstorm. When the nurse came in the next morning, Evelyn was sitting by the window again, the letter folded neatly on her lap. "Did you read it?" the nurse asked gently. Evelyn smiled faintly. "Yes." Her voice was soft, barely a whisper. He was here, wasn't he? The nurse hesitated, unsure what to say. "I think he wanted to be." Evelyn nodded, her eyes glistening. "That's enough." The nurse straightened the blanket around her shoulders. Evelyn reached out and placed her frail hand over the nurse's wrist. "If he comes back," she said, "tell him I read his letter. Tell him I understand." She turned back to the window. The snow had stopped. A pale sunlight filtered through the glass, catching the silver strands of her hair. 2 days later, Daniel came again. This time, he didn't stop at the parking lot. He walked inside, his hands shaking. The receptionist looked up, recognized him, and said nothing, just pointed down the hall. He walked to room 214. The bed was neatly made. The room was empty. The nurse stepped beside him. "She passed yesterday morning," she said softly, peacefully. Daniel froze. The world around him blurred. On the nightstand, next to the folded letter, was a note in Evelyn's handwriting. "It's okay, sweetheart. I forgive you anyway." He sat on the chair beside the bed. His hands trembled as he picked up the note. Tears fell silently, one after another, staining the paper. He pressed it to his chest and closed his eyes. For the first time in decades, Daniel whispered into the quiet room, I'm sorry, Mom. The radiator clicked again. The air was still. Outside, the snow began to fall once more, slow, uneven, endless. Weeks later, the staff cleaned the room for a new resident. One of them found a small photo tucked behind the dresser. Evelyn, her husband, and a boy with a wide, carefree smile. They placed it back on the nightstand. Somehow, it felt wrong to take it away.